So welcome. Liz and I are your hosts. We've met most of you, I'm sure. If this is your first time on Appy Hour, we're really, really happy that you're here. Liz and I created Appy Hour to really connect accounting professionals that are specifically interested in accounting technology and how to grow their practices and help their clients using technology. So this is kind of our time twice a month to meet with you guys and hang out in a comfortable environment and learn about something new or learn more about something that we know about, and we can dig a little deeper into it. So super excited to have you guys here, and thank you for joining us for all of our episodes. We're really happy you're here.
Absolutely.
So Liz, do you want to go ahead and just introduce yourself for those that may not have joined us before?
I would love to. So like Heather said, I think that most of your faces are familiar. And so I will say hi. And for those of you that we haven't met yet, my name is Liz Scott, and Heather and I both individually have our own accounting firms, like many of you here. And so our topics that are inside of Appy Hour are all about our clients, so small business plus back office things that we do and apps that relate to that. So we both are big into automation. We're both into technology. There's pieces of it that can really take some of that workload off of your shoulders, as long as you have a really good solution. So that's the thing that we really enjoy presenting to you all, is solutions that we have found that we have been thrilled with and want to make sure that our peers know about them.
That's exactly right. And Fathom is definitely one of those applications. I use Fathom in Back Office Ally, which is my accounting firm. I've been using Fathom for a couple of years. I used it with a big CFO gig client that I was working with, and it really did make a difference for them. One of my favorite features, which Jeanne is going to show you, is the goal seek, which is super cool, and I can't wait for Jeanne to show it, because you guys, I'm sure, are going to like totally geek out as much as I do over this. But yeah, so I have my consulting firm like Liz has, and then I have also an accounting firm, which I'm going to share a secret with you guys. I'm totally rebranding my firm. So it's going to change from Back Office Ally to Satterley Accounting Services. We're going to do this whole Satterley brand thing. So you guys know first. Probably going to launch sometime in February. Really excited about it. So yay. So let's go ahead and get started. And first, we just want to make a huge, this is our first shout out to our champagne level sponsor, ADP. We're so thrilled. ADP has actually been a partner of Appy Hour and helped us out a lot over the years. So we could not be happier to have them as our champagne level sponsor for 2021. And as you all know, ADP has a wide spectrum of products out there to help accounting professionals and their clients, including payroll, human resource management, PEO, which we're actually going to be talking about later this month, retirement, all kinds of stuff. And the cool thing is that they partner you with one of their representatives that feels like an extension of your team, which I really love. So we'll be learning more about, we'll be doing a lot with them this year, but we have an episode with them coming up next in 2 weeks. And then a huge thank you to this month's sponsor, Fathom, which I didn't get your tagline in, so I get a big thing. What was that?
I said, so let's do it live.
Let's do it live.
The tagline for Fathom is
beautiful reporting and financial insights. Let's go with that.
Great. And I take ownership of the epic fail of not inserting the tagline.
I think you went beautifully.
I am a human. I'm sorry. But it is beautiful reporting and I love it. And I'm excited to see it. So, all right. And then a woman that needs absolutely no introduction, but I'm going to introduce you anyway, is Jeanne Whitehouse. So I'm sure most of you that are on the call have seen Jeanne speak on the conference circuit in the past. She is amazing. And one of the things about Jeanne, if you have met her, is that she's one of the most genuine, kindest, loving people you will ever meet on the planet. So in addition to being incredibly brilliant and like knows everything, she's also just like this totally down to earth, amazing human. So anytime that I have the opportunity to hang in the same room, even if it's a virtual room with Jeanne, I am completely excited. So
I
thank you,
could
Jeanne.
not have said that better myself.
You are so sweet. What an honor. Right back at you. We're all great. There's so many wonderful people in our profession, people that we get to hang out with. We don't get to see in person. We have so many wonderful, amazing, supportive people in this profession, especially people that hang out around QBO and all the events and people that join the happy hour. So thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Absolutely. And Jeanne, can you tell us a little bit about your journey to advisory and how you work with clients and how you kind of broke out, because this is a big part of what you do. It's a huge part of what you do as an accounting professional is the strategy piece. Can you tell us a little bit about your story?
Well, my story, I can go on for hours. It's a very circuitous path to being where I am today. But basically, partnered in a CPA firm when I realized I didn't want to do taxes anymore. That was 15 years into my career as a CPA. And then I went to technology because I really wanted to solve the value problem that we accountants have. And I thought technology was the way to do that. So I went to software company Navision at the time, and then I ended up at ACPAC and then later Sage. But I started speaking in my role at Navision to accountants, trying to get them to do things differently. And that the first thing I was trying to get them to do was to talk about technology with their clients. We're still beating that drum. There's still a lot of CPAs who won't talk about technology, who won't recommend it, who aren't smart about what's going on, who are still hanging on to desktop applications for dear life. And so that was the first thing that really inspired me. And what I found, though, is that the bookkeeping community is way ahead of the CPA profession in terms of adopting technology and really feeling the client pain at a very intense level. And I think accountants in CPA firms, and especially in tax, were removed from some of the immediate needs of their clients. And so the first place that I started trying to drive the profession was with accounting software. And then I discovered, I'm getting some comments about all the old software that I mentioned, ACPAC and all this stuff. Yeah, I'm old, y'all. Just get over yourselves. But what I discovered, and the technology is definitely a huge piece of this, but it's not enough. You can't just implement a tool and not do anything different with it. So you could take Fathom, for example, which is, we all know, the best tool since sliced bread. You could take Fathom in and just show the Excel application output and not do anything different for the client. So we have to change the skills and the mindset that we as a profession apply to whatever tool is out there and help our clients use it in a way that changes their business. And that's what I've been trying to do since really 2000, when I discovered a methodology around advisory. And that was the Mentor Plus toolkit, which most people have heard me talk about ad nauseum, but it's because it's a part of my DNA. Ever since I discovered a path to advisory, it's the thing that I realize is really what we need, in addition to tools that help us become better advisors. Somebody typed in simply accounting. Y'all stop it. You're distracting me. I'm seeing all these funny old DOS names come up in the chat. I'm gonna have to close it. Yeah, I mean, I've been through a lot of doggy software, y'all. That was DOS. And when I was at ACPAC, we had some amazing technology, but we had 30,000 people using the product called ACPAC Plus, which was the original DOS application. 30,000 people, when we had cloud software available, were still using the crappy DOS and the dot matrix printers, y'all. How many accountants do you think were hanging on to that software? Unbelievable. And they're probably still using it today. More power to them. But we're here to talk about what the new world is all about and what Fathom enables us to do as a profession. And when I discovered Fathom, and I can't remember how long ago it was, I was over the moon because it has capabilities that I think are critical to being a proactive advisor and a real partner to clients. And that is this ability to do things interactively. And so there are a bunch of dashboard tools out there. And I'm going to just start sharing my screen because I have to, because I love product. Oh, you got to let me. Give me the power.
I was having a conversation with myself because I was muted, but I've stopped sharing. So now you can share, Jeanne.
Okay, so I'm just going to show you, and I talk about this all the time, but I want to show you, and Fathom, and by the way, Rowan, jump in here. Rowan is my lovely, informed, intelligent partner and the person at Fathom who enables me to be here on their behalf. And I'm grateful for the fun that we've had together. So the thing I'm showing you, hopefully you're seeing, let me see, I didn't click the button. It helps if you click the button. So I have Fathom open. Let me know if you can see it. Everybody, y'all seeing it? Okay. So Fathom is a dashboard tool at its core. I mean, that's how it started. It takes information from QBO directly. You can connect to QBO. You guys know that QBO Online Advanced comes with a license to Fathom, but it can also read desktop, and it can read Excel files from any other client application that's not standard, that's not the right one. So what it does though is put an overlay on top of it and let you communicate boring financial data in a way that's not boring. And I wrote a book called How to Make Boring Stuff Interesting, or Make a Boring Subject Interesting. And this is what to me has been the burden of our profession. We present this stuff in such an awful boring way that we can't break through to the clients that we work with, so they pay us the big bucks for the work that we've done. We bring down the value of our delivery with a boring wrapper that we put around it. Even if you buy one of them pretty covers that they sell, there's a company that all they do is make pretty cardboardy covers to put over the financial statements that you staple in there. And that's supposed to be good marketing for many accounting firms. But this takes that boring stuff and brings it to life for clients. So you can do things and change the period that you're looking at. And this is my sample client that I created. Now, this is step one if you're going to build an advisory practice. Show your own client sample data in Fathom. If you're going to be associated with a particular business or industry or anything, do something clever with the sample client that you use when you're presenting a sample set of data, because that starts establishing your brand identification. You'll see mine is called Le Coup Rouge Winery. My firm established that as our sample case study for everything that we do in our firms. Anytime I show a demo of QBO, I'm using the Le Coup Rouge Winery sample data. Anytime I show Fathom, I'm using the sample data. Anytime I teach a class, I write up the story about the redneck family, y'all. And then they have their own website, lecourrougewinery.com. Go buy some imitation fake wine. But it gives me a story to tell, and it also sets me apart before I even show anything in here. So already you're looking at that company going, which winery is this, and what can I learn about their secret data? And then you read that and go, oh, and you might not get it, but at least you know that it's not a real winery. So we go into the goal seek screen, and there's a bunch of different things, which are all fabulous, and we'll get to that in a minute. But goal seek, if you just do one thing, just go into Fathom with sample data, sit down with a current or prospective client and say, I'm just going to show you the kinds of things that we like to do with our clients. And I don't care if you're doing bookkeeping work, if you're doing tax work, if you're doing audit work, if you're doing just any sort of consulting or advisory with a client, this is going to set you apart. So you can say, okay, what we want to do is figure out what your financial goals are for your business, where you're struggling or what you're trying to improve. We're going to choose a financial objective, and we can show them this list of different things that we might want to fix. We select the item, and I always go to operating cash flow, because the biggest question I've always gotten in my way too long career is, if I made a profit, where's my cash? And that is the biggest mystery to most business owners, especially small businesses. They don't know how that is possible. And this screen with operating cash flow as the goal will allow you to educate them about that concept. You can show them that operating cash does not come from just profit alone. So we put operating cash flow as the goal, and then we can show our objective of what we want it to become. So I set mine to $120,000 of positive operating cash flow. And you can see, maybe because it's really light, that I'm currently at negative $650,000. So think about this. Here's a client that has negative $650,000 of operating cash flow. I want them to pay me big bucks to fix it, right? First thing I got to do is overcome their fear of not being able to pay me. So here we go. If I could get you to $120,000 of positive cash flow, you should be able to pay my $25,000 bill that I'm going to send you, right? Right. So this is your sales tool. This is your value pricing tool. This is how you start raising the bar about the kinds of things that you do. So then we have, and the first thing I would do is do this with the owner, to just say, these are the kinds of things that influence your ability to get to that cash flow number you're trying to generate. You have to fix the price, the volume of what you're selling. The cost of goods for the items that you're selling has to go down. You got to fire some people or reduce your fixed expenses. Or then you have to focus on these three things that tend to show up on the balance sheet. You got to go collect faster on your outstanding receivables. You've got to pay slower to anybody that you owe money, and you got to get rid of some inventory. Those are the only things we can do if we want more money in the bank. What do you want to work on, Mr. and Mrs. Owner or Ms. Owner? Which of these things is the easiest for you to fix? And then they give you input and you go, okay, let's raise the price. Let's see what that does to cash flow. The moment you start doing that, and I don't care what you pick, and you start sliding things and they can see money in the bank, you have earned your fee. So now you can stop. Okay. If that's your objective, if price is what we want to fix, let's sit down and decide what to do. Now, of course, you're not going to stop here. You're going to show them some other things. And okay, this one, the second driver on my particular example tells this owner that they should sell less, fewer units in order to improve their cash flow situation. The first time I did one of these and I saw that, I almost had a heart attack because I thought the software was broken. But the way this works is it assumes that these ratios, that these different metrics are fixed in relation to each other. So if you, and let's go back to where we were, where we have negative operating cash flow. If you were to keep everything else in place the way it is and just sell a bunch more units, you would in fact increase your negative cash flow situation to $1.5 million. The reason you want to talk about that is the number one strategy for most business owners is exactly that. If they're out of cash, their native natural response is to sell more units of whatever they're selling, whether that's services or product. And this illustrates to them what a stupid decision that would be. And you can tell them that all day long, but when you do that, they go, oh my gosh, if I continue to sell stuff with the same setups and inventory and receivables collection and cost, and my margins aren't high enough and all these other things don't get fixed, I'm going to sell myself out of business. And that's when you go, yes. So let's not do that. Let's look at what else we can do. And if you can raise, whoop, what happened? Oh, I just got rid of all my units. We don't want to do that either. So we're going to stay where we were. And we're going to talk about price. And we're going to ask that owner, can you raise your price? And they go, maybe a little bit. Okay, what else can we do? Well, let's fire Sally. We don't like her anyway. Boom. Sally's gone. Okay, receivable days. Now this is where they start to go blank because they don't know about the balance sheet stuff. But this is where we could say, you're selling enough, but what you're doing is waiting around for your clients to pay you. And so if we could get those collections in faster, your cash flow would dramatically improve. And so do you think that's something we can work on? And they might say, yeah, but I don't know what to do. And you go, that's okay. We can figure that out together. But let's see if we could get this off of your receivables collection experience and improve result. And then you got to pay some people slower. And that, of course, is pay everybody but me, your trusty advisor, slower. Because what's happening is you're paying your vendors faster than you get paid by your customers. And that's not a good way to function. And then inventory days, we want to get some of the inventory on hand off our shelves. And we got to do some things to stop ordering so much in relation to what we're able to sell. So now you've gone through this discussion with them. You've taken about 15 minutes to show them the kinds of things that you're able to do. And we're using a sample client. Now you can do the same thing. You could use live data if you have their permission to connect to it. But usually in the first meeting, I say, these are the kind of things that we do. We look at these factors. We decide what we can influence because different companies can influence different factors. We come to an agreement about what we're going to change. We bring in leaders on the team and we have them own individual actions that we've identified together. So we can print this out and then assign names to each of these changes that we're going to make. And then we can talk next. The next step would be to talk about what actions we need to take at each level to make these changes happen. That is all you have to do to sell yourself as an advisor, because I can tell you people that aren't doing this cannot compete with somebody who is. When I sit down with a client, especially an owner, a CEO who tends to be short attention, they want an answer, they want it now, they want it fast. This screen gets them sitting up in their chair and paying attention like nothing I've ever done. Now, this is just one of the million things that you can do with Fathom. And Fathom has come out with what I think is the best forecasting tool that I've seen. I've started looking for forecasting tools for wineries 4 or 5 years ago because we're doing them on crappy spreadsheets today. And nobody could handle some of the unique issues that we have in terms of different channels having different cash receipt paradigms, different rules about how I wanted to scale different line items. I wanted to add new line items. I wanted to see different scenarios where I add a SKU, which is an inventory item. Next year, I want to forecast the flow of great purchases and things like that. And none of the tools could handle it in an easy to function way. And Fathom has basically put everything that I needed in their forecasting tool. So if you haven't looked at that, you got to look at it. And I'll just show you some clunkily some of the stuff because there's so much in here. But it brings in all the actual data. You can tell it what period you're going to forecast from. And 2018 data in my lousy sample data is about as good as it gets for mine. But you can add things. You can go in and customize the rules. So see where I can pick a sales item and talk about what the collection experience is going to be for that. I can say it's all collected in the month in which I sell it, which is true for retail sales, or I can set it up as an on-account receipt and dictate the percentage of collections over time. So I can do all kinds of cool things like this. I can create my own drivers. I can bring in non-financial metrics like you can do in the KPIs, and then use those to build rules that allow me to create and manage the whole forecast. And then I've got it in this tool. I can print it out. I can create multiple scenarios that keep track of different assumptions that I make. It has a micro forecasting capability that lets me create unique scenarios like adding another brand in my winery and all kinds of things that I just haven't found anywhere else. And if they exist in other tools, they are so complicated that I can't figure out what to do. So this one has the unique combination of easy to use and really deep feature sets. So if you haven't used Fathom before, this is the time to make it a no-brainer. This is the last piece, I think, that makes it impossible to not have this in your toolkit, especially if you want to do anything about advisory. If you want to do niche or whatever y'all call it in your state or country, I call it a niche, like a ditch. It has a benchmarking tool where you can group like clients and then benchmark them against each other. And then you can show comparisons against this benchmark. So it's a great tool to get you started in that direction as well. Once you start putting multiple clients in here, you can see how they perform against each other. There's a ton more stuff, but I'm going to take a breath and see if there's anything Rowan wants me to add or wants to correct, or anything else Heather or Liz, since you guys are all huge fans too, if we need to talk about next.
I think you're super spot on so far, Jeannie. This has been great. I'm just fielding a few questions on forecasting. I'll just answer that one live about account code. So we don't automatically forecast based on code, but you can forecast down to the account level. You can also group accounts together and forecast that way. So kind of allow you to either use a really fine brush or a broad brush for your forecast, depending on how in depth you want to get.
So there were some questions about training also. There's going to be on the last week of this month, January 26th, 27th, 28th. Intuit is doing some sessions, and I believe the session on the 28th is the one that is going to be related to Fathom. I'm going to be presenting that, talking about how to use Fathom to build a niche. So you can go watch that. I talk about Fathom in every session that I do pretty much. I don't think I've done a session in a long time that doesn't include Fathom in some way because it's so unique in terms of what it allows me to do. There's another Intuit session I'm doing on leading and lagging indicators, which I believe I'm pretty positive has Fathom in it as well. But and Fathom has also got a bunch of tools that they put together, and I'm sure training is coming on the forecasting piece. Rowan, you want to say more on that?
Yeah, we do have some weekly webinars, and I will post some there. I'll post the forecasting webinar in the chat, and then we'll be following up with folks, so I'll include some other webinars there as well. We have one that happens every Thursday, and you can check out a recording or register for an upcoming session, and that just allows you to get in on the live Q&A portion, which is nice.
There's a question that Heather or Liz might be able to answer about importing the budget from Fathom. So the biggest problem I have is creating the budget with enough detail in most of the tools that are out there. So what I would use Fathom for is to create the budget at a detailed level, print it out, and then get the summarized data and put it in whatever other place I needed to go in QuickBooks. But in QuickBooks, budget import is a little bit rudimentary from what I recall. But Heather and Liz?
It is very rudimentary. The QuickBooks Online one is available. It's only available right now in QuickBooks Online Advanced SKU. You can't import into the other subscription levels. And it is very limited. Like you can't subdivide by class or customer. You can just bring in a straight budget. So, but I think there's some apps that have, some apps out there that have the ability to import a budget. some of the third-party apps. I haven't
been
done it
able to
myself,
find
but I
a good one.
think
I was looking at Sasant stuff and they didn't have a budget from what I could see.
they didn't. What about Transaction
I
Pro,
don't know.
Liz?
I don't think so.
Do you know if
I think it's
Yeah.
just
No?
a
Okay.
matter
It's
of
not-
the
yeah.
limitations on the
Posting.
QBO side for what we can put in. But to me, it's
Yeah, on
the
the API.
creation of it over here, and then
So-
you can summarize, then you've got something that you can input, which is not that difficult in QBO. You can take
I
the summary.
agree. I mean, I feel like it's almost best to start here
It is.
and then build out from there, because you're gonna have one place to be able to keep track of it all. I would imagine what you would want to do is abandon your budgets in QBO and switch over to here.
If I would say eventually though, Liz, like I would totally say when I first started using Fathom, the forecasting didn't exist. That's new. And so one really great way to start using Fathom and really get to know it well is to have the budgets in QuickBooks, bring them into Fathom, and then start using the goal seek feature, start using the reports with your clients and become really well versed at that. Then you're going to want to go and step into the new forecasting tool, because I think that it is a learning process. And if this is something that you're just starting out on in your practice, starting with, Fathom is pretty much plug and play. You bring your data and you sync with QuickBooks and you have reports and data that you can absolutely have a conversation with your clients and create beautiful deliverables. You can also customize it by adding your own KPIs. Like there's KPIs that I want to look at in my contractor clients that aren't in Fathom by themselves. So I build those. And so as you start to use it more, you start to customize it more. And eventually I think you would get to the forecasting. Some people are going to go right to the forecasting, and that's great. But I think for a lot of us that are just starting out, using the budgets in QuickBooks would be just fine.
Jeannie, I have a question for you.
No questions from you, Liz.
What do you do whenever you are looking at all these reports, you're end of the month? Do you send these over to your clients, or do you just do it live?
I suggest that you do a collaborative session and communicate it. And it depends on what you are. If you're a CPA and you've got to issue the letter and do all that baloney, people are loath to do it. So all that we do is share the information live in Fathom, and then we don't have to issue a compilation letter with it. If you're a bookkeeper, you have the benefit of being able to do whatever you want and print it and not have to worry about all that baloney, and you can print it to them. I think the value is in the conversation. I always go back to that. And if you print out a big fat report and send it to somebody, then you're pretty much doing the same thing as putting it in a binder. But the cool thing about the Fathom reports is that they're interactive and they're cool and they have really cool insight. So it's way better. And you can send them a link to this. You can invite them in to see this online, and it does cool things with like the graphics moving around and makes it a lot more engaging. This is just a sample monthly performance report. It pulls from, are we still seeing my screen?
Yes.
Okay. It pulls from many of the other aspects of the live analysis screen, but you can modify all of this stuff. You can change the report. You can change what the target items are. You can bring in that budget. You can add you can do all sorts of things to refine what's displayed. And then you save this and it becomes your recurring monthly report. And that's when you have the meeting with the client online and you go over the stuff that matters to them. So the danger here is that we take this fabulous, interactive, highly visual thing and create an accounting-like document that has 10 million things that totally bore them to death and overwhelm them. So if you want to make it boring, you can. With a lot of work, you can turn off all the cool stuff and put 10 billion things in here and totally kill your client again with all the information. I mean, this is so fun and exciting for us to have all this great data. But that's a lot of stuff. So
it is a lot of stuff. And I would say this, Jeannie, I've also, some of my clients want to get it ahead of time because they want to kind of write down their questions for our conversation. So I've actually done that where I've shared it with them beforehand, like a day or two beforehand, just so that they can look it over. So that when we actually do meet to go over it interactively, they kind of already have their notes prepared.
And so we have clients that have investor reporting that's required. And I had a client who was doing 5,000 spreadsheets and manipulating stuff. And I said, just take the stuff out of Fathom. You're using QBO, bring it into the report, create your standard template, and then just update automatically. And she couldn't believe it. And in, a day, she had all this set up. And now every month I see it, I'm notified when it goes out, and she's sending them out to the investors. And of course they change their mind, every time they look at something, they want another piece of information. She adds one more item and then she's set. But one of the other really cool things is, I don't know about you, but you have your chart of accounts set up for accounting purposes. And then you have some weirdo investor who wants things sorted in a different way. And that's not easily done without messing up what you're trying to do in QuickBooks. So what you can do in Fathom is go in and rearrange the chart of accounts just for Fathom reporting purposes. And you can come up with condensed information. You can put different headings in. One of the big things we have to do for wineries is associate revenues and cost of goods sold directly against each other. We can make that happen here without messing up the QuickBooks chart. So we can have different views. Yes, weirdo investors, Rachel. And we have really picky investors who get this great report, and then they want 2 or 3 things changed or something else broken out. And you can handle a lot of that kind of stuff in Fathom without having to keep going into QuickBooks and changing everything for the standard reporting. So it really facilitates creativity and gives you a lot more flexibility in designing different ways to get to the critical insights for that business.
So whenever you're getting started, this is kind of what you're recommending. Go in and set up the company. And then back where you were just a second ago, you had the KPIs pulled up in front of you. And so there's lots of different options in the KPI setup. Is there an area that you like to edit?
Yeah. So you can go into the KPIs and you can, this is another thing. You see how many are available. Just because they're available, you don't need to show all 20,000 of them at once. Now, these are things that you might want to show to different audiences. So you can turn things off and on. And I recommend, a couple of critical ratios at first to get people just in tune to managing by ratio, managing by the numbers. And then you can bring different things in, but be real critical in terms of how much information you're going to display at any one point, because you're going to overwhelm people, even though we love all this stuff. And I want to see every single one of these, but my clients don't. And then I can go into the KPIs and I can create a new one. So there's a button here I can create, and this is my favorite, which Heather mentioned early on, non-financial. This is the biggest differentiator for us as a firm in our wine industry client base. We're bringing in things like cost of farming per acre, which is not information that is displayed on a financial statement. We're bringing in acreage, we're bringing in square footage, revenue per square foot in our tasting rooms, revenue per employee in our tasting rooms. We're bringing in non-financial metrics, and this can be imported from a spreadsheet directly into Fathom and then used to mesh with some of the financial information that you've already brought forward. You can also create your own formulas. You can create libraries that you share across multiple companies. And then you can just watch different accounts to see if something is out of range. So, I mean, it's really got everything you can imagine that you want to do as an advisor.
And, somebody had asked something about creating your own dependencies. And right there where you had it pulled up, the formulas, you can do some of that inside that area.
You can do all kinds of stuff with the formulas.
It's pretty complex and robust inside the formulas.
And it's got everything. And I've worked with every tool imaginable over the years. I've looked at all of them. I've done deep into all kinds of things going on. And the first thing I look for is interactivity, like what you see on the Gold Seek screen. And that eliminates 90% of the tools that are available. And then I want, the ability to collaborate with clients and share it online and let them go into it as well, which Fathom meets that requirement as well. And then custom KPIs that are not just financial, that are not just coming from the financial statements. One of the tools that you've heard me talk about is a product called Finograph, which is a really basic financial-based indicator of ratios, and it pulls in some industry standard benchmarking, but it's nothing like this. It's very accountant-like in its look and feel. And it's a place to go to just get educated if you're worried about understanding what some of the ratios are. But you can also train yourself and your teams using Fathom internally and never showing it to a client. You can get smarter yourself about what this stuff really means. And so one of the great tools in the reports is that descriptor of the KPI. So go back to my report here, and I'm in edit mode. And when you get to the bottom of the KPI section, it talks about what the ratios are, what these measures mean, and where they come from. This is the kind of thing that you can do internally. Pick a ratio and a measure and talk about it with your teams about what this means. Accounts payable days, what this means, and what the problem is. and here's your current metric. And this is a great educational tool as well. Again, even if you never use it with a client, if you can get smarter yourself about that goal seek screen and what receivable days does to cash flow and what inventory days does to cash flow, you can start having different conversations with the clients until you're ready to start showing this live, if that scares you, this whole interactive.
Well, and you just touched on something that we've had a couple of comments about, how to get started. There's a lot here. Well, okay, Jeannie's the guru, but everybody, can start slow and at their own pace. And there's lots of training. And I love what you just said. So you can start simple. You don't have to have all of these various reports. You can start with a few and then do education as you're going through each of those reports that you've chosen.
Yeah,
Definitely.
the value, when I started, so the way I really got into advisory was with an interactive dashboard tool. And I started connecting to client data and just looking at stuff and moving things and seeing the impact. And it was like, wow, I never realized some of these things. I mean, intellectually you might have, but when you see that thing slide and you see cash flow go up because you cut down your inventory on hand, it's visceral. You really understand it in a very different way. And so it's the overcoming our own fear of not having the answers is the first barrier that we have to overcome. And this tool, I think, gets you there. There's nothing in here that doesn't help in that regard. It helps you feel smarter, helps you get more comfortable. Now, this one is the scariest one to me, Rowan, in the whole thing, because it's round, y'all. We don't like round. We like rows and columns, not circles. So this one scares me. This one, CEOs love this. But this one, I go back to my squares. Give me some squares and rows and columns back to here and let me look at it this way. It's so silly, but I'm telling you, that's how we accountants are wired. Circles are scary, squares and rectangles are good. But this one shows, perspective. We want to see different perspectives. We can group it by results. The bad stuff is all clumped together. CEOs hate seeing red things. They hate bad grades, and they're going to want you to tell them what they can do to fix it. Now, one of the questions that we get, and Rowan gets this too, is if I show somebody this goal seek screen, and let's just look at profitability. That one's kind of obvious, right? I got to either raise my price or cut costs or get rid of some of my expenses. If I go to the client and they say, we want to raise our prices, and then they turn to me, the accountant, and say, okay, help me do that. And I go, no clue, y'all, go back to your office and call me in a year. The concern we have as accountants is that we don't know what to tell them once we go through this dialogue. And so we created a tool, Rowan and I together created an advisory tool that says, here's what to do at each thing on the goal seek screen. So when I go back to operating cash flow, and I think you have that as a handout, right, Rowan? A downloadable?
Yes, we do. I think that's on the Happy Hour site.
Okay. So when you go through this dialogue with the client and you select a particular thing to work on, like price, I have a guide that says, here's how to increase price, the actions that you can take as their advisor. And one of the things you can look at, and this is a problem in the wine industry, is the channel mix. So what this is saying is your average price needs to increase. It's not saying that each item that you sell needs to go up by X amount. But what you can do to raise the average price is look at the pricing mix, the product mix, and try to sell more of the higher priced items and less of the lower priced items. And that gives you an effective price increase. If you sell less to the wholesale channel in my industry, then you'll have an effective price increase because we cut our prices for wholesale and our retail prices are much higher. So there's a list of things like that for each of these items so that you have some comfort in your own mind in talking with your clients about making these kinds of changes. Because if you show them what they need to do, and then they turn to you and say, well, what do I do to do that? And you go, don't know, you're going to flounder, right? So you want to have some ideas in your own mind about the kinds of things that will enable them to move these dials in different directions. And if you were able to increase the price and then increase the volume and get rid of some expenses and cut the days, you can still sell more units at the higher price, but you need to fix some of this balance sheet related garbage that you have going on in that business in order to really impact the cash flow. So the advisory document, there we go. Rowan has pasted it on there. And yeah, the benchmark, the value of that benchmark, and this is the thing that we did in our CPA firm. We created our own internal benchmarks before Fathom had that capability. We did it in Excel. We took all the winery clients that we have and we compared them to each other using our custom KPIs and other data that we knew they were worried about. And that's the biggest value add that we provide. They come to us asking for that. They don't ask for the other stuff, the traditional tax. We give it to them and they go, yeah, and put it in that same drawer that they all have for their stuff they don't care about. They put it in there with their financial statements and the tax returns. But when we give them this scorecard that benchmarks them against their neighbors, their eyes are glued to the page and they want to know, when is that coming out? When am I going to see that industry benchmark? This lets you do the same thing. We created our own because the national benchmarks are useless. A Napa Valley winery does not compare well to a Finger Lakes winery. Even though they all have great wine, the cost structure is different. The variety treatment is different. The inventory management issues are completely separate. I don't want to be benchmarked against, the Redneck Winery in Greenville, my hometown, Greenville, South Carolina. I don't want to see a Napa Valley winery compared to them. Or Chateau Alon in Atlanta, great little winery, y'all. But their cost structures are different. The grapes that they manage are different. Everything about that is different. So if I'm benchmarking against an unidentified database, it's not very useful. It's also not necessarily looking at the same set of numbers. So for example, many of these national databases that have benchmark data are pulling in whatever the client enters, like tax return data, unaudited financial statements. You get a blend of different levels of financial quality in the information you're benchmarking as well. And when we do it against our client base, we know we've looked at the numbers and they're all standardized so that the comparisons have a lot greater value. So that's what you can do with this. Build your own comparison against your own client base, and then you'll know that it is consistently entered to the extent that you have control over that. And then it's based on what's happening live in either QuickBooks Online or desktop. And the desktop integration happens at the desktop level. You load an app for Fathom and then the data goes up into Fathom just like it does in QBO. And hello, Greenville, South Carolina. Yay, George Brown, Mother Greenvillian. We're growing in numbers. We keep getting ranked Greenville keeps getting ranked as a great place to live, y'all, in spite of the fact that it don't have wine. Okay, so what else do we have we need to address here?
Well, I think that you're almost to your goal there. So let's get there. What do we need to do to get to that goal? Let's move something. It's like
the biggest issue is generally this accounts receivable problem. So I'm at positive cash flow now. So what I'm going to say is, as an advisor, I don't want us to break the bank here, to really cripple the business and make a bunch of big changes. What we want to do is get that owner to commit to increasing something incrementally, assign a leader to that job, give them some ideas about what they can look at. But when you say, if I have a salesperson in the room and I say, we need to raise average prices across everything that we sell. What can we do, Sally, Jane, Bobby, whoever you are, to do that? They will come up with 45 ideas. If they can't, then you start asking questions like, okay, do you sell across multiple channels? What are your sources of sales? Are you paying a commission? Are you getting the gross price and then taking sales discounts out of it? Are you selling through a wholesale company and you're getting a net price that's lower than retail? What flexibility do we have when it comes to pricing? And they might say, we have absolutely no flexibility on pricing. And then you go, okay, let's skip that one. Because there are cases where you're either in some sort of a controlled price or there's only one price or whatever it is, there's a market and this is the price. And you go, okay, what else can we work on? And then they come up with the next thing. So it's not me telling them, you need to fix this and you need to fix that and you need to fix that and you need to stop doing that and get rid of all your inventory and blah, blah, blah. It's me saying, which of these can we mess with in your business? And what do you think we could do for price? And we want to start relatively small. We want to get something so they can see the first move on the bar there. So they can see that there is potential to have an impact. And then we want to walk them through this whole screen. And I'm telling you, that process brings out a whole bunch of issues immediately. And if you just start with the owner and they could see it, and then they're going to say, I want to get my team in here. And they say, great, let's arrange another meeting. That'll be $50,000. Let's get back together with your data and talk about what we can do to make these changes happen. And if I can increase your cash flow from negative $942,000 to $120,000, is it worth $15,000 to you? And if they don't say yes, move on to another client.
Yes, move on to another client if they don't appreciate you. 100%.
Right.
But I would also say, I love what you're saying about take it slow. You don't want to change everything overnight. So
Yeah.
that means that you can start with, here's a little bit of, little tasks and action items, and then go and accomplish those things, and then come back for some more.
And that's how you build an advisory practice, right? We do this every month, or we do this every quarter, or we do it every 6 months. So we have this first discussion with them. We set the goals, we come back in and say, let's look at our KPIs that we determined were critical to our ability to achieve these goals that we set. How are we doing in sales of wine and tasting room and other things? And this is our channel mix data. I'm selling to distributors versus wineries versus direct to consumer versus tasting room stuff. And so we can look at some of these that are direct indicators of what we're able to do on the goal seek screen. And then we can go back to the goal seek and say, oh, look, we're at so-and-so for this ratio, and now we need to work on something else. And then, we work together, we set a strategy with them. Our job as accountants is to hold people accountable. Number one, I think, priority for us. And this tool makes that easy.
Well, I love what you've shown us. I like that you showed us so much, but then at the same time, broke it down into bite-sized doable pieces.
Right. It doesn't need to be overwhelming. You don't have a bunch of skills and redo everything that you're doing, and neither does your client. Yeah. Just help them and it's a part of the methodology for Mentor Plus. It's this whole concept of Kaizen. It's not one huge sweeping change that we want to make. It's a million little small steps that we take that together move the needle on whatever goal it is we're trying to accomplish. And it's also engaging the people at the front lines. It's not just sitting up in the ivory tower with the owner and coming up with all these great KPIs that we then punish people with below us. It's having this dialogue first with the owner, then with the leadership team. Then we bring in the people that are selling the products in the front lines and say, we need to raise price, y'all. What can we do to get more of our expensive things sold and less of our cheaper items sold? And they come up with incredible ideas that you would never think of. That's what happens when we do this with wineries all the time. They come up with these cool ideas and we go, wow, that's amazing. Yeah, does that work? And they go, yeah, we can do that. That's easy. But nobody showed them the impact they could have by changing their own behaviors. And once you get those people engaged, everything changes for the business.
Yep, those little buy-ins. And I love it that you're including the team in those conversations, because whenever you get everybody excited, you get everybody on the same page. And that's enlightening.
It's so fun. We walk into wineries and people go, Jeannie, you're that nerdy numbers person that showed us that cool thing about the numbers. And now we're doing it every day. I mean, it's a great way to get free alcohol.
And to that, I would say, here, let's have a drink.
Yes. Let's do that. I think it's time to raise a toast.
I think so too. Jeannie, thank you for what you've shared with us. I don't know if you've got the real cocktail in front of you, but I do.
I'm going to go ahead and take over the screen share, Jeannie. Is that okay?
Go for it. Yes, ma'am. I'll stop.
Oh, and then you can share that pretty drink.
I can. So it is time to raise a toast to Fathom, and it's a gigantic toast because wow, right? Just
look
wow. That's what I keep seeing in the chat. Rowan, I know that we introduced you very, very briefly earlier, but I wanted to put this slide up to give you a formal introduction. Rowan is the head of partnerships and business development at Fathom. She's had other roles at Fathom as well. And I put her email address on the slide for you guys so that if you would like to reach out to her, you can do that. We're also going to do a poll in just a minute. And if you would like Rowan and her team to reach out to you with more information about Fathom, about this, the certification that she was talking about, we will certainly pass along your contact information to her. So let's do our toast. So our drink, it's beautiful.
Yes.
And it's really interesting. So it's blue, but it's got gin and champagne and simple syrup and lemon juice. And I'm not going to lie, I'm doing a dry January. Well, so I have to have it. I was like, how can I make it into like a virgin version of it? And I couldn't. No, so I'm still toasting, but I'm doing so with mineral water. So.
Okay, well, I'm in. So I even added in a little orange slice because I thought the orange looked good with the blue.
Well, you can try it for both of us this time, Liz.
I'm in. I'm already in.
So here's to 2021, to
Cheers.
great partners like Fathom and rock stars like Jeanne, and amazing colleagues like
friends.
all of you, and friends like you. So definitely.
Well, I guess go ahead and put that poll up and I'll comment while you're doing that. So it made me laugh because there was probably about 20 different people that said, yes, I want to know about the certification.
Right.
And I said, me too. So if you want to learn more about the certification, would you like us, Rowan, to also say yes to the poll?
Yeah, that would be great. I will include more information to that regarding the certification course. I did jot down everyone that kind of raised their hands for that, but it'd be great to just kind of get the yes from everybody, and we'll include a bulk of information. I know we had some specific questions too, so I'll follow up on those. But yeah, this was so fun, and it's really great to see everyone's excitement and your great questions through the chat. Thank you all. Thank you so much, Jeanne. You always do a really great job of highlighting the best parts of Fathom. So yeah, this was a blast, and looking forward to following up with you all.
Yeah, it's wonderful. So I'm excited. We're like I had mentioned in the chat, I'm rolling it out in both of my companies to do my strategic planning, and the idea with the forecasting tool, and my idea is to roll it out with my clients this year as well. So it's a great way using it is the best way to learn it, right? So
yeah,
100%.
Yeah, and like Jeanne showed, going through it and getting that client involved and even excited and engaged with it, and then they're bought in. So that's awesome.
Yep. All right, I'm gonna count you guys down for the poll. So you have 5 seconds to vote, and I will go ahead and send along your information to Rowan. So 5, 4, 3, 2. Oh, it got a couple last minute people in there. So fantastic. And maybe I need to count down again. There's a whole bunch of people that are like, I want to vote. So, all right, fantastic. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and close out that polling. That was funny.
You didn't want to miss out. That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think that's ever happened before on the show. Like people are like, great, no, close out the poll.
Yeah, there's even names on chat that's like, please me. Don't. So they might have said no to more information, but yet said yes in the chat. So
right.
Perfect. I'll keep an eye out there as well, and we'll cross-reference everybody.
Okay.
Fantastic. So we have 5 minutes left. We always do at the end of our show a coolest thing. And so the coolest thing that I did, and this was something I implemented at the very end of 2020, and it's something that I've been wanting to do forever because I am not a huge fan of Adobe. Just not my favorite company. We all have our favorites. So one of the things that I wanted to do as part of my target list for 2020 was to ditch Adobe and find an alternative. And I did. And I actually found it through one of my clients who was using Sign Now. And one of the big complaints I had about Adobe was it doesn't integrate with Zapier. And you all know that I'm like the Zapier person. I love connecting everything. And so I really wanted a tool that was going to allow me to automate the generation of PDF documents. So I could send a template to a vendor to have them fill out an electronic W-9 and sign it, or be able to have somebody sign a contract or whatever. So I actually found PDF Filler. I adore it. It does have a little bit of a learning curve to it. And I think the biggest piece of that learning curve for me was the fact that when you have Adobe PDF, you're used to working locally in the Adobe PDF app. And with the with PDF Filler, you're actually working in the cloud. So if you need to upload the document in order to work with it, which at first I was like, I don't want to do that, but it's actually worked out really well for me. So what it does, and I'm going to show you the dashboard in just a minute, is it allows you to sign. So it has an integration with their kind of sister app, which is Sign Now, which is also on Zapier. So you can actually completely automate a contract process. It's amazing. But you can sign your documents electronically. It has the ability to fill in different forms. It says right here with save time, you can do taxes withheld, business income tax form revisions. It's very professional. You can save templates and then use the templates. Like I said, you can set up automations. And it also has a complete audit trail, and you can store the documents into different folders within the program. So I have several companies, and so I'm able to file those documents and the templates into different areas within PDF Filler. So huge fan. These are all the things that you can do with PDF Filler. These are all the things that you could do with Adobe, with a paid professional Adobe account. You can compress, convert. So you can actually turn it into an Excel spreadsheet if you want to. It has the OCR PDF, which is amazing. You can split your PDF, merge your PDF, combine or reorder, extract pages, all this good stuff. I'm not going to read it all to you. And then you can sign it. So if you sign up for the plan that has the Sign Now integrated with it, it's simply all you do is you click on a button, it opens Sign Now, and you put in who you're sending it to. It's amazing. So I'm really loving it. It has a lot of really great security features as far as how secure you need the document to be. And it also has knowledge-based authentication if you need that. So that's important for us tax preparers. We have to have knowledge-based authentication. So this is what the dashboard looks like. And I'm just going to go through the 1, 2, 3, 4 to kind of show you the things I love about it. So in 1, you can see that I can send the document via email, fax. I can actually have it notarized. So if I need it notarized, what happens is I open that up, it contacts a notary, it opens up a Zoomish call, and we sign the documents and it's notarized. I can send it via snail mail, text, and I can download it. And then for your W-9s, 1099s, 941s, you can actually file them to the IRS. I haven't done that because I use other tools for that. For the 2, we have the workflow, so I can share the document, link to fill. I could sell my form. So if I came up with an amazing form, I could actually monetize it, send it for review, share with the support, and then we've got the Sign Now integration here and the audit trail. So these are all like the major awesome, what I love features about it. And I wanted to share it with the world, and that's what Appy Hour is all about. I think this is a great tool, and I think that that I wanted people to know that I'm using this and I really like it. So that is our coolest thing of the day. Here's the things that I love about it. You can see it connects to Zapier, is listed 3 times because that's really important in my life.
No, you don't say. Automation girl.
Yeah, the other thing that I want to tell you is it's super inexpensive. Like ridiculously, I think it's $15 a month for 3 users.
Which
like
replaces
$5
the
a
price
month.
of Adobe.
Yeah, it's cheaper than Adobe.
And also, if you think about it, it's also replacing your e-signature tool too.
Yes. So it's definitely, I really like it, and it's made for legal and accounting. So it's got that layer of security that we need. So thank you, Rowan. Thank you, Fathom. Thank you, Jeannie. Thank everybody. This was amazing. And Rowan shared with us that she will offer you guys a 30-day trial on Fathom if you want to try it out instead of the regular 14 days. So we have your email. So when you sign up, just shoot an email, let her know, and you'll be on the list of what we give her. So she'll know that you're eligible for that additional 16 days of trial. So so thank you for that, Rowan. And go ahead and visit our website. You can find out we have some great episodes coming up. You can watch all of our episodes on our on our website and on YouTube. You can join our Appy Hour Lounge Facebook group, and make sure if you're joining us from Facebook, join in Zoom. We have a lot of fun here in Zoom. We're doing all kinds of chats and Q&A and things that you're not experiencing on the live stream on Facebook. And coming up over the next 3 episodes, as I mentioned earlier, we have Introduction to HR Outsourcing with ADP. And then on February 9th, we have Why Accountants Need a CRM. With Method CRM. So I'm super excited. I'm a Method fan, so excited about that. We're going to have Relay Financial, which is a different kind of banking for small businesses, joining us on the 23rd. And then we have some sponsors lined up on in March, but we're just finalizing our details. So as soon as we have that finalized, we'll be sending you that episode information as well.
We have to get through January. Like, this has been
We do have to get through January. Yeah.
Deep breath, another drink.
Yes, another drink.
Yes, I want to say thank you. Thank you. I absolutely had a blast during this episode. I've loved seeing my friends, and it really, really was refreshing to see all the chat. So I love seeing your names scroll across and the commentary. It's happy.